Good morning. So today is October 15th. The links are up. So this is daily attendance, okay? I will be giving like lots of updates today and information, so please bear with me. In terms of midterms, we will be having, based on what you all answered, and there's some of you that answered, thank you. That means you're watching the video. Some of you didn't. So we will be having midterms early, so I'll probably do a video on Thursday telling you what the midterm is. It's usually chapter 3, sort of the same that you've been doing in terms of your homework, okay? So wait for that, and then I'll probably give you till like Saturday or Sunday to upload it, and that way you have, your Thanksgiving all great, and then you have your midterms for your other classes on Monday and Tuesday, all right? So there are some for the discussion board. I don't remember what class it is, or maybe there's several that there's answers there from October. I don't know. There's obviously a glitch in the system, and so it's supposed to sort of erase everything. So let's just go with it, right? If you want to comment on some of them that have commented in the previous terms, that's fine. There's been glitches. I don't know. There's one specific class that has a glitch with the, discussion board. I don't know why. So let's just, be flexible, and thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much to those of you who advised me about it. So really appreciate that. Okay. And that takes me also to Ruben. So thank you so much, Ruben. Ruben called me yesterday, or we talked yesterday, and it was a really great talk. So I'm always available, okay? And there's no need to be apologizing. Let's go from let's get away from apologizing and truly making an apology, valuable, right? I think there's been some loss in apologies. You don't need to apologize because you're interrupting me. You're not interrupting me. That I am your teacher. If I am able to speak, I will speak. If I'm not, I'll tell you that I'll get back to you, and I really want to answer your questions as quickly as possible, because I know that, you probably need the question answered. Okay. So if I don't answer, it's because I'm really, at the moment I am not in a place where I can answer. Also remember that I prefer Teams. You need to Teams me. Okay. There's people that still, are still emailing me and still bubbling me, which is fine, but then that means that I'm not going to answer that quickly, okay? So please Teams me really quick, really fast. We can also do a quick call, clear up any confusion that there might be, okay? Yesterday, I've confused the timestamps, so the timestamps were confusing, okay? So I switched them. So for English 133, I put a 145 as timestamp, and for English 145 I put a 133 timestamp. So my apologies, but if I'm saying English 145 and some of you really contacted me and they're like, hey miss, really confusing, yes, you're confused because I confused you. So thank you so much. I cleared up the timestamps. And if the instructions don't go with whatever it is that I say, so that's a red flag. Ask, okay? And I'm human, right? And so we'll get it corrected, okay? And if you've already done the work or whatever, then maybe, talk to me about it. Maybe we can make arrangements, all right? So anyway, back to my original story. So I talked to Ruben. He couldn't see the lines. It would say fill in the blanks, right? And we couldn't see them. It was kind of weird. The questions didn't make any sense in spite of the fact that you had to fill in the blank. And so thank God, God, Siri, source, energy, whatever you believe in is very interesting, because it logged me out while I was talking to him. So I was on my iPad and I was seeing exactly what he was seeing. I couldn't see the lines and it didn't make any sense, and I couldn't figure out what, because this had never happened to me before in the other terms. And so what happened is that I was kicked out of Cengage for whatever reason. I just got kicked out, right? Because of internet or whatever, or because source, God, is sending me somewhere else, right? So while I was talking to him, I had to go to my computer and bring up the book to see what was going on and to try to solve it, right? Because we have a problem. So we are about problem solving, and your life is about solving your problems, and the only one that it matters to you is you. Okay, you might get some resources and help, but it is your obligation through life to solve your problems. That's why we need to be problem solvers. Okay, and part of the biggest complaints on employees employers is that we have no common sense. Okay, so that's part of the deal. So anyway, so I was forced, right, by God, energy source, to have to go to my computer because I logged out, and then I couldn't go back in and log back in because Cengage completely took me out of my account. And so I don't know any of my passwords, right? Because everything's, ID face and all that, or whatever, face ID and all that. So I was talking to him, so I really needed to go back to my computer to be able to see what was happening. So when I brought up my computer, the lines appeared, right? Whatever it is that we were discussing that didn't make sense, the lines appeared. So then I went back to my iPad and, my tablet, and was able to log back in, and I couldn't see the lines. So I realized that in your iPad, sometimes you can't see the stuff. Okay, so if you have access to a computer, I suggest you do that through the computer. If things are sort of missing and distorted, then it's probably you need another device. Okay, so be mindful. Remember that, this is an expansion, and we're learning as we go along. Before, there used to not be iPads, before there used to not be phones, and so we are really in an era of breakthroughs, right, and initiations, and doing things very differently. So of course there's a lot of kinks because we haven't mastered it, right? And so be patient with that. So that was really a huge eye-opening. And what really was really great is that together with Ruben, who's my student, right, together we resolved this major issue that he was very frustrated with, that I became very frustrated with, but I couldn't figure out what the deal was, right? And so we figured it out. So that's the collaboration, and that's what's coming together. That's teamwork, and that's what you want. You want to be able to collectively come together. And in esoteric terms and spiritual terms, we talk about the collective. So, I talk about the collective. It's about, everything and all that we are. Okay. So, really glad. So if you can't see whatever it is that you see, you probably need a computer. And that's part of the reason that sometimes I can't do certain things when you call me or you're asking for something and I say, wait, it means that I have to get back to my office, or I need to get back to the computer because I can't see. Sometimes that happens with grades as well. Like I can't see the grades really well, or it won't pop up whatever it is that you uploaded. And so sometimes I have difficulty. So there's only one specific device that I have to use when I do the grading and when I check on specific, uploads and stuff like that, because there's specific uploads that I can't see on my tablet that I can see on my computer. Okay, so be mindful of that. So thank you so much to my students for the discussion board that you brought it up to my attention, and of course for the lack of stuff missing that the questions were referring to. Okay, so I hope that clears out. The other thing is about cheating. Okay, so I've had a lot of cheating in my class. It started really probably last term. It's just a lot of stuff. So I try to make my class as easy as I can. Remember, I was a high school principal, so I know curriculum like the palm of my hand. Okay, and I can make the class, because I'm skilled, right? Because I'm educated, because this is my career. I can make it as hard as I want to or as easy as I want to, right? And so I have that flexibility because I'm very, I'm an expert in my field. And so I used to have for my English classes the ability, or not the ability, I used to have everybody write paragraphs and write all these very deep, writings and papers and stuff. But you guys, my students were really stressed and they were really pressed for time, and it was very laborious, whatever it is that they were doing for me. And in the end, everything that you're seeing, except for business communication, all my Englishes, you've seen in the past. This is just a review. So unless you're a second language learner and you're coming in from Mexico and you haven't had any schooling here or whatever, this is just really a review that you saw maybe possibly at the beginning of your high school, career. Okay, so this is just a review. So I had decided based on that I would just make it simple, and we just use the book, and you'd get through it, And in one of the books, if there's answers, I left them there. In the other books, if there isn't answers, then then I can't do much about it. But in Cengage, sometimes the answers are there. Anyway, so I've left it there, and I've just left it there just for convenience purposes, and made my curriculum as easy as I could. Okay, and so when you upload your homework, I review it briefly, okay? Because really, in the end, what I want is like for you to get through it. So as long as I see that you have everything there, I'm not really picky about grammar, and I'm not really picky about whether you got it correct or not, because English in the end is very hard. And I could, and if I start really grading the way it is, your grades wouldn't be what they are, okay? Just because, it's hard to write and it's hard to figure out what they want, and we don't know, and there's several answers, or we think there's several answers, or whatever, right? So in doing that, I think that there's been a misconception over my students that I sort of don't see anything, or it doesn't matter, or I'm an idiot, or whatever, because that's what the impression is when you guys cheat, right? That you're devaluing me and you're abusing my generosity, okay? So I don't like and nobody likes to be abused, okay? Nobody likes to be taken advantage of, okay? And I don't mean abuse like whatever, but you're abusing you're abusing that I am, sort of, let's go and easy or whatever. Because I'm like super strict, I wasn't top of my district because I was like laid back, right? And so, but we're in a different era, we're post COVID, so lots of stuff, okay? So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you not cheat. So cheating, I've found plagiarism. If you plagiarize, if you copy either someone else's work and turn in the same thing, and I had somebody do that, okay? I had two people doing exactly the same thing. That's plagiarism. If I was really meanie, I turn you in and you get expelled immediately, because that's like huge, like no other university would get you. So that's that. The other thing is plagiarism. You can't be turning in something that you've turned in from a prior class, okay? So you can't. I sort of don't agree with that, but that's part of the rules. The other thing is that people just sort of upload whatever the hell they want from like other classes. Maybe it's, like for business communication, people are uploading English, papers, because that way it looks like it's like, like they uploaded an assignment. I've had recipes. I've had like stuff from phlebotomy or medical terminology and stuff like that. Well, when you come back to me and say, oh, I made a huge mistake, I really don't believe you, okay? I just believe that you took advantage of me, all right? Because it's very apparent that you did it, and it's usually something that was like dated some other time. So be mindful, okay? Because at this point, I'm getting really pissed, okay? So I can make it really hard. And, for all of you who turned everything in and do things right, thank you so much. And you all are the ones that sort of get dinged for the ones that are trying to do shortcuts. Don't do shortcuts. My class is not worth a shortcut, okay? My class, you get 100. You know how difficult it is to get 100 in a class? As long as you show up and you turn in what you're supposed to turn in. I don't grade for grammar, and I don't grade for correctness. Now, if it persists, that I'm going to have to, right? So it's taken me forever to grade, because I'm really combing through it like with a comb, because you guys put me in that situation. So for those of you who really turned in stuff, that's great. Thank you so much. For those of you who are trying to con me, please don't. You're not going to be able to turn that in. I'm probably also going to open the links up, okay, close to midterm. So for those of you who that have had approval because life happened, or you died and resurrected, right? Somebody tell me, well, you told me you died. Yes, if you have an emergency, I will consider it, and I will most likely allow you to take, to turn it in. So I will be opening up the links for those of you who, who I caught. All right, you will not be able to. So don't risk it with me. It's not worth it, because all you're gonna do is get me very upset, and then I won't budge, okay? And I won't budge. And I've had people like cry like a river. And remember, I am a female, so like sentimentalities don't like shake me, okay? When I was a principal, there was a lot of they were used to a male principal in the high school, and there was a lot of females teachers that would come and cry, like boom, like on a note, right? Well, it just wouldn't move me, because it is what it is, I don't know. I'm a girl, so tears sort of don't make the same effect that it probably would be on male. I don't know, and maybe that's gender, but I don't know. So if you're crying but you try to screw me, I'm not gonna take that lightly, okay? And so just closing up, okay, this is your purpose. Like, life is your purpose, and life is about you, and it's about expansion, and it's about being the best that you can be, okay? And so dream big. And if you're if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So today I am going and I have a business lunch that I'm gonna have to go to with one of my clients who's French, and he has investments here in El Paso. Okay. And so when I was a kid, I always envisioned myself head of being part of like a CEO, and I would always like have these visions. I sort of got of like these very long, and my dad was an entrepreneur, so I don't know where I got this vision, because that's not the life that he had. He was a very successful entrepreneur and he had his own business, but he wasn't sort of like a desk type. It was, it was more of a service. He used to have his own business for CO2 and deliver CO2, okay, which is like the bubbly in the drinks, okay. So, but I always envisioned myself in a really like long, wooden table that had like 20 people in, and then I was the CEO. I was the head one, okay. And so I lived that in the district. I was one of the higher ups. I had a really important position, and I was head of a lot of committees. And so I lived that part of the dream. And I also lived this incredible part, with my clients that we had a really good, very business-like, right? We had a business dinner last night that was very successful and very important. These people are multimillionaires. They have incredible, investments in El Paso. He had just flown in from Houston, but the day before he had flown in from Paris. So really exciting people. And that's what life is about. Life is about truly living your purpose and truly expanding and going after your dream, because everything is possible. And whatever it is that you believe, if you believe it so dearly and so faithfully, you will live it, okay? And you will arrive to it. So dream big. And if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And go seek your purpose, okay? Love and light.